Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Badgerland Birding Podcast. I'm your host, Ryan, and I am here with Will Huggins, our friend who we first met him when he was in Florida, but now he is in Georgia. And he just went on a awesome birding related vacation. Would you call it a vacation, Will?
Uh, Absolutely. It was an adventure. Um, a little bit of time away from the real world to go birding. So it was
Yes.
fantastic.
But anyway, he went to Panama and has some great stories about some of the cool stuff he saw and did down there. And I want to lead off with what you seemed like you were most excited about, which was the Harpy Eagle that you saw
Yes.
down there. So why don't you tell
Yes.
us a little bit about how that went?
Oh my goodness. Harpy Eagle. I mean, my understanding of it was that this is essentially the holy grail of birders, especially in the Americas, on these continents. So I got to go down to Panama for the second time. I went for the first time last October and then ran it back and did another trip to Panama this past October. Both trips were led by Tiffany Kirsten, friend of the show, and she partners with Canopy Family, that is a locally owned company in the country of Panama, who have three properties. This most recent trip, we flew into Panama City and then took a 5.5 hour drive east into the Darien province in the lowlands, where we stayed at Canopy Camp. This Harpy Eagle was, as far as I'm aware, the easiest one that they've been able to get in the last 5 or so years. And it was still really, really challenging. Let me think. Our morning started at 4:30. We got in a car, drove to the very end of the Pan American Highway, which goes from Alaska all the way down to Panama, essentially at the border with Colombia.
That's crazy.
Yes, it was very cool to see the mileage sign of zero. I have a photo of that, and it was really unassuming. Had it not been pointed out to me, we totally would have glanced past it.
So I'm
Um,
assuming it starts south and goes north then, if that was the 0 point.
I wish I knew the answer to that. I'm going to just go ahead and assume that's right,
Uh,
along with you. They had a distance to Alaska in kilometers, and that was also pretty funny to see. Um,
yeah.
so we we get down to the end of the highway, and then we got into a boat. And this trip, we were in a large, you could probably sit three people. I mean, we sat three people wide in each row. In other years, they've taken clients in what looks more like a hollowed out tree, a single file line type of
No.
canoe. But this one, we were in a metal boat with gasoline engines on the back. So we got into the boat, life vested up. We birded along the river. We had some fantastic views of different birds of prey and other specialties in the Darien Gap in the lowlands. Took two different rivers until we reached, and I could pull up the eBird trip report to give the exact names of these locations, but we reached a local community with several farming families. We get out of the boat, we hop into their trucks, drive another 30 minutes. So it was probably 30 to 45 minutes in the boat, 30 to 45 minutes in the car. And when we arrive at the property line, we get out. My Spanish is so-so. I was able to follow for the most part what was going on as our guides were in full Spanish communicating. But we met some of the family members and they started marching us through their property. It was about a half mile in, very, very dense foliage, and had a
Were you
machete.
basically bushwhacking?
Yeah, yeah, we had a
Oh.
machete. We had to bushwhack our way through for a half mile.
So did you have a
We,
machete yourself, or was it the guides bushwhacking, or did
I
anyone
would have
get involved in
loved,
this process?
I would have loved to have it. The family member on the farm is the only one with the machete that day.
Okay, all right.
He knew where to go. They had made a path, which must have been backbreaking work. Um, we were essentially under a canopy in what felt like a rainforest the entire time. So half mile in, and I'm sweating bullets. It's very humid down there, very hot. And we come upon what's called a quipo tree, which is the local name for the tree, the preferred nesting tree for harpies. Very soft wood. They can get about 120 feet tall, over
Wow.
400 years old. And in a small clearing, we look up and I'd guess maybe it's 80 to 90 feet above the ground. We see a massive nest with a female sitting on the eggs. And that took our breath away. We got a really good look at her head, just kind of poking up above the nest. That was just the start, though. We stayed with the eagle for a little over 2 hours. And it wasn't just to get better looks at the female, which we did get. She got up, stretched her legs, stretched the wings, then got back onto the egg again. The real treat was crossing our fingers, hoping the male would show up. We don't think the egg had hatched, although it was probably very close because it had already been about 8 weeks. Um, that's typically how long the harpies will brood on the egg before it hatches. This is the time when the male is active out hunting, bringing food back for the female, and then ultimately bringing food back for the chick. Doesn't happen every single day. We were told that the day prior the male had shown up and been visible. We were holding our breath, crossing our fingers, and then all of a sudden we hear the female start to scream. And I got audio recordings of this to upload to eBird because I
That's
love doing
cool.
my audio recordings. Um, I also like that the audio recording number is so much smaller on the eBird reports that I feel more in an exclusive club when I can add my one tick mark under that row.
I feel like
For
it's a certain type of person that does audio too. I've met a
well, I just
handful of
do it.
people that want to do the audio.
I just do it on my phone. I see people out there with the actual recorders, and I'm not that hardcore, but I
Yeah,
like it. It really helps me learn the birds. So I'll pull up the voice memo app on iPhone and it helps me crop it. Oh yeah, pro tip. Anyone that wants to do audio recording, if you use Merlin Bird ID, I do not know how to crop and edit. If you use your iPhone or probably Android is the same thing, recording app, it's a lot more helpful. Um, but I digress. So the female starts to scream, and we're all thinking that the male is going to show up. Uh, Took another 15, 20 minutes, and he did show up.
wow.
Um, I had been told that the female is, I think they said twice the size of the male. Um, I think that's about right. He was still massive, but when side by side with the female, you could see a clear sexual dimorphism between the two. Um, so the male comes in, lands on the nest, looks like he gave something to the female, and then we're basically head on where the male is facing us, hops off the nest, opens up the wings, and soars probably still 60 feet over our head, pretty high up, but soars right over our heads and disappears into the thick overstory. And I don't quite know how to put this into words. I'm gonna do my best. But when you see a adult harpy eagle that I've been wanting to see this bird my entire life, um, huge expedition, all the thoughts of how difficult it was to get here to this moment, and all the people that contributed towards this, leading up to the anticipation. And then you see this bird just open the wings up, that black and white pattern on the underside of the wings, the tail, and it just glides through the air. Holy cow. I had goosebumps. The hair stood up on my arms. My heart started pounding. I had a visceral reaction, like a flight response, primal fear.
I was gonna ask you that actually because those are known to take primates
Yes.
and probably capable of taking children. And I was gonna ask you, did any part of you wonder or fear that? And it sounds like yes.
Intellectually, I didn't, but just primally, absolutely. Absolutely. I had an awe, a fear, a respect for this animal. Um, Now, quickly that turned into adrenaline, and you've birded with me. When I get excited, uh, I'm very into it. So
That's true.
the eagle was completely covered. We couldn't see it in the foliage, the overstory. But there was a bit of a clearing where I could walk, and it wasn't entirely overgrown in the forest. So I just walked closer to the nest and just kept my neck up. And uh, one of the family members on the farm, the one who happened to have the machete, decided to come with me. And he whistled to me. I didn't quite catch what he said in Spanish, but pointed. And I look up. I remember stepping on a twig and it's snapping as I'm getting my camera zoomed in on it. And the eagle was looking ahead. When the twig snapped, it snapped its head down. And I got a photo of what I felt like it was looking right at me. And I texted you that. So I don't
Yes,
know if the podcast does media as well. If not, everyone
we do
can.
actually. Yeah, we
Okay.
have the video version too, so people can see what we're looking like when we're talking to each other.
Okay. I will send you that photo again, and maybe people can see what I'm talking about over here on the side. Uh, Holy cow, that was another moment where the heart just started speeding up and felt like it skipped a beat. Um, the power of this animal, how quickly it moved, yet it was also very graceful and very large. And um, the claws were so, the talons were so visible. Uh, Very impressive, very intimidating. Now, apparently the eagles, the males don't always spend that long around the nest, but I think it was almost an hour that we got to be with the male. He ended up flying into a clearing on an open branch that everyone got a great look at. Um, Left for a minute, came back again. The vocalizations were pretty constant between the male and female. I did not know they also croak like a frog. That
Oh
was a
yeah.
little bit silly.
I
Um,
mean, my knowledge on harpies in general is very low. I usually figure out more knowledge about something once I've seen it or when I'm gearing up
yeah,
to see it. So harpy eagles, I've not even done a lot of research on. Did
yeah,
you learn a lot about that bird specifically before the trip,
yes,
after the trip? Did they give you a lot of info on the trip about it?
yes, that's a great question. I tried to watch documentaries to get myself hyped up before the trip.
Do a little
I
David
learned
Attenborough?
sorry.
Do a little David Attenborough?
Oh, I if I would love to watch a David Attenborough on harpies. I don't think I found one, but I would love it. Um, I've done that before. The first time I went to Panama, I watched David Attenborough on mannequins, and we got to see a golden collared mannequin lek, maybe 10 feet away from me at most. We had
Oh,
males jumping back and forth in midair with the wings. Um, so that was over a year ago. We had people cry in that moment. There was just such a visceral reaction to getting to be a part of that. You
was one of
hear
those
so much
people you?
about it, you see it in the documentaries. How often do you get to witness that in person? Um, so Panama is absolutely one of my favorite countries I've been to. I've had fantastic experiences both trips. One in the Panama uh, province, about 30, 45 minutes from Panama City. And then the second, most recently, being in Darien. Um,
What was the biggest thing you saw on the first trip? Was there a specific target bird you really wanted on that one too, or was it kind of just experimenting with what was in Panama generally?
so I was not thinking there was one target. It was more experimenting and getting to see the country. Now that I've gotten to do the Canopy Tower, which is near Panama City, the highlight was definitely Blue Catinga. Uh, it looks like it looks like a sci-fi lightning bolt, just neon blue. It's got purple on the throat and on the breast. It's a very large, um, compared to what I expected. It's much larger than I expected, and that stole the show. I mean, every day there was a new favorite. I got to see toucans. I got to see mannequins, motmots. Um, Boat-billed heron was a personal favorite, but the first trip I had 150 lifers in 6 days. We had 209 species, and we only birded a 10 square mile radius, I think. It was fantastic. The second time in Darien, I think we had 250 something species. Um, a lot of overlap for me with having been to Ecuador and Panama already. I still had a very nice chunk of lifers. Harpy Eagle obviously stole the show. The guides, the employees of Canopy Family were phenomenal. I can't recommend them highly enough. It's not only is it affordable, but you get great service, great food, great guiding, great accommodations. Everyone is completely bilingual. So they not only were patient enough to practice Spanish with me, but they're also patient enough to tell me for the 20th time about a black crown antrite call because I'd hear it and it was so new to me and they had told me 5 minutes earlier. No, it's actually the same bird. But they were very patient. They're great attitude, always excited to go birding. So with Harpy, we just talked their ear off the whole 5 hours down to get to the base camp. And then we still had to wait, I think, 2 more days until the morning of. So every couple minutes, somebody would come up with a new Harpy question. We got to learn a whole lot from the locals that live down there and have seen them dozens of times. Um, which actually reminds me, one thing that I thought was very interesting that I didn't quite understand until I got to do it myself was that the local community in Panama are very invested in the conservation of Harpy Eagle. There is a line of communication between Canopy Family, the company, and the guides, as well as the landowners. When a Harpy Eagle has a nest on someone's property, that's probably a 3 year commitment for the pair. They're going to be incubating the egg for maybe 8 weeks. And then it's almost 3 years after the egg hatches that the chick is still going to be going through the process of fledging, of being reared, of dependency on the parents. So there's consistency of being in that location for 3 years. And as it was explained to me, when a Harpy Eagle shows up on your property in Panama, it's like you've hit the gold, you've won the lottery, you've struck gold. Now there's going to be an inflood of tourists just like me. There's going to be an inflood of guides that want to go and see this bird, as well as some scientists. And the US dollar goes very far in Panama. So you can charge to have people come onto your property and to show them where the nest is. And then there's a ton of handmade artwork that's done, which I got to learn a lot about when we visited a indigenous community that's in Panama. Painstaking work, very detailed, of taking black palm fronds, drying them, boiling them in water with different ingredients to essentially dye different colors, and then threading together. Or taking tigua seeds, which are about this large, and drying those out, and then a knife and carving those and painting. So after we saw the Harpy Eagle, and I felt like that was a life-changing experience, I just spent all the cash I had on me buying all these handmade Harpy Eagle things from the family that lived on that farm. And it was money well spent. Really high quality stuff. Um, I did a lot of Christmas shopping as well as just getting stuff for myself. I I really enjoyed that experience, and I think we still had 3 more days left to go after that. So it was I can't recommend it highly enough for anybody that would be interested in doing an adventure like this. From what I've seen, I'm always looking at trying to find affordable trips that give me this feeling of adventure. I haven't found a better bang for your buck internationally than Canopy Family. Um, I would highly recommend it to anybody who wants to do it.
So let me ask you this: what was the living quarters like in the places that you were down there?
Better than I expected. So I was talking with Tiffany about this Harpy trip. I think the first time she and I talked about Panama was 2020, may have been 2022 when the first time I met her. And I got my wires crossed. I thought it was going to be much more sparse than it was. It was fantastic. So, the property in Darien is called Canopy Camp. It is, uh, it looks just like those glamping safari tents that you see, where there's a raised platform, a very large pitched tent, maybe like what you see in Harry Potter or in the safari tent camping with zippers that have the anti-bug mesh. Very nice, comfortable bedding. It was two to a room. And then on that same raised platform, adjacent to the tent with our bedding and clothing hanger rack, was a fully running water restroom and shower. The shower was open roof. So during rainstorms in the pitch black, I got to take showers with the frogs and the crickets croaking just beside me or in the rain.
That sounds like one of
Very
the
fun
most epic
experience.
showers you can take.
It was a very fun experience. I did not get a shower lifer, but there are a lot of jokes of there's somewhere there is a list being kept of bathroom slash shower lifebirds that you can get there because there's no roof over the shower.
I know there's
Uh,
some guy that had a life list of birds he saw from his toilet. He had a window in his bathroom or something,
oh
and he had
God.
a great
Yeah.
backyard for birding. It's like a
Yeah.
urban legend, or I think it's real, but similar to that.
I'd buy that story, especially having gotten to try it myself. Uh, Very, very fun experience. There's a central dining area, which is has a roof. It's covered, but it's open air. So um, essentially, you have concrete that's been laid to walk on in the central area where you would have your meals, as well as couches and hammocks and chairs for hummingbird feeder viewing. There's a kitchen, and that has four walls and a roof, but everything else is just a big covered roof area that's nice to relax. They have a small library in the camp. Lots of great hummingbirds, gigantic banana feeder. So keel-billed toucan, collared araceli, motmots, trogons, oropendulas. Banana quits were buzzing by my head constantly. Hummingbirds buzzing by my head constantly. And I think from what I've heard that this is the worst of the three. I say worst, the sparsest of the three properties. And it has
The worst of the three properties.
like, okay, the reason that people think it's the most difficult to visit is probably the humidity. The lowlands in Panama is very, very humid and very hot. But I regret having the word worst come out of my mouth. I can't speak highly enough of the experience I had. It was fantastic.
Well, you're
Um,
also a guy that's lived in South Florida, so you're probably a little more acclimated to humidity.
Yeah, I felt like I was just back in the dog days of summer and in training camp with sports. Um, my dad went with me to Panama a year ago when we were in Panama City. And for this trip, because I didn't quite understand just how nice the accommodations were, and also I knew that the Harpy Eagle trek was going to be challenging and we didn't know what to expect. His concern was that if he went down, or if my girlfriend joined me for this particular trip to Darien, that it would end up like in the Big Year movie where the newlyweds go to Attu and the
Yes,
wife ends up leaving crying, very upset because she wasn't 100% committed to the birding.
she didn't know
Um,
what she was getting into.
no. Now, in hindsight, I think that was actually pretty sage advice. If you're a first-time birder, Darien is turning the knob up to 10. You
Okay.
really got to want to do it. Um, the elements are a challenge. For me, it was well worth it.
How are the bugs down there? You know, South America, Central America, people think about all the different bot flies and things like that. Was that a concern? Were they worse than in the US? What was it like from that perspective?
I was pretty surprised that it wasn't worse than the US. I think the Everglades would win the prize by far in extreme insects and mosquitoes.
Extreme bugging.
Yes. The Harpy Eagle, we were legitimately in the rainforest. We were very much off the grid. The insects there were the only times I got bit. I wear um, I wear anti-insect clothing. Permethrin is baked into the fibers, so it's called Insect Shield, and they partner with brands such as Ex Officio. So the only bug bites I got were on the exposed skin, on my
Oh, sure.
hands, and maybe a little bit on my neck or my ears, but I had head to toe, including my hat, was insect shield, and I was totally fine. Um, there are a lot of very large ants. There are a lot of very large spiders. I had no issue with it. There were a few people that were nervous about it when they would see one. We had a bat roosting under our sink because of the open air shower. It was able to fly in. So one or
Well,
two
that's just
times
cool.
I got surprised by a bat at 1 in the morning because you have a flashlight. You have to walk outside on your raised platform from your tent to the restroom. So you have a flashlight, and when I opened the door, the flashlight shone into the restroom. The bat decided that that was its cue to leave. Um, the other two properties that this company has in Panama are essentially enclosed. Canopy Tower is built vertically. It's an old satellite monitoring base for the U.S. Armed Forces from the Cuban Missile Crisis. It got converted into a birding tower. So once you walk through the front door downstairs, you're inside all the way up. And there's lights and there's no issues with the elements. And the lodge, which is Western Panama, I've not been to that one yet, but I believe it's similar in the fact that everything's under the same roof. So camp was just a little bit more spread out. I was nervous about snakes. We did run into a viper and a boa. We saw some scorpions. We saw some tarantulas, but we didn't have any issues. There were some people really interested in herpetology and insect viewing, so they got a kick out of it. And the guides were very, very knowledgeable about all of those animals as well.
Yeah,
I
for
kept my
sure.
distance. I have a camera, I have binoculars. That's how I chose to look at the snakes. Um, I have a healthy fear, healthy respect for animals like that. But yeah, I did not have an issue with insects. Um, as far as I'm aware, you don't need additional vaccines to go to Panama as long as you're just caught up on the regular ones here in the US. So there are a lot of countries where additional vaccines would be required to travel. I don't think Panama's on that list at any part of the country. At least it hasn't been where I've gone so far. So,
That's pretty cool. I have one more random animal question. What was like the mammal situation like? Was there a lot of primates? Was there? Oh, that looks like got you
dude, you'd
excited.
love it. You'd love it. Okay, let me see if I can, off the top of my head, rattle them off. We had Jeffrey's tamarind. We had, is it black mantled howler monkey? It's howler monkeys, mantled howler monkeys. Just can't remember if there's a color on that name. We had white-faced capuchin. We had white-nosed coati.
That's cool.
Um, there was a there were both three-toed and two-toed sloth. The three-toed has a very long name. I think it's Hoffman's brown throated three-toed sloth. I
Really went
butchered
the
that.
extra mile on that one.
I butchered that, but it's close. Um, what am I forgetting? Plenty of bats. Um, hmm. That might be it for the camp this time, but including the tower, we also had Rothschild's porcupine, which is a very narrow population.
Is it
I think it's,
prehensile-tailed?
I'm sorry,
Prehensile-tailed or no?
I'm gonna be honest, I do not know what you just said.
Oh, I asked if it was a prehensile-tailed variety. Like there's some porcupines that have a prehensile tail and others that
Oh,
don't.
oh, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't know there was that kind of distinction. I just learned
Oh
something
yeah,
new about porcupines.
there you go.
Um,
I only know that
so
because I had both kinds at the Milwaukee County Zoo for a while. So you could see the prehensile tailed one, and then you would see the standard American, North American porcupine. So it was
okay,
pretty cool to see the two different kinds.
that is cool. I'm gonna have to after this, I'm gonna have to go look it up and really learn what that looks like and how to tell the difference between the two. Have you ever seen a tree porcupine?
I think that would probably be the prehensile tailed variety, I
Okay,
would
cool.
gather.
Yes. So that's what the Rothschild's porcupine is. We also got to see, um, I think I said night monkeys. Oh, kinkajou,
Oh,
kinkajou,
nice.
kinkajou. They're very cool mammals. Um, and then, oh, what's the really cute four-legged one? Agouti. We got to
Oh,
see
nice.
agoutis.
I
So,
just looked up the Rothschild porcupine. It does look like it's a prehensile tailed porcupine.
okay, there you go. The staff were so excited when we saw that in Panama City. They told us that it's a very narrow population density, I think they said it's endemic. Um, really cool to get to see that one. There was a chance while we were going after the harpy of a jaguar.
Oh, yeah. Would you have, like, obviously from a distance wanting to see a jaguar, would you have wanted to encounter a jaguar?
Um, Now that I'm home safe and sound, I don't want to take that for granted by saying, yeah, let me see a jaguar. But of course, that would have been very, very cool. The local farmers had been seeing one for several days. Maybe it was stalking us the whole time. I don't know, but we
Could have
didn't see
been.
it.
Could have been. Were there any other really good birding experiences you had there? Like, was there a Harpy Eagle 1A, 1B situation?
Man, it is tough to limit myself. I'm so excited about so many of the birds that we got to see. Um, let's see here. Okay, there are a lot of phenomenal species. I'm actually going to take that question a little bit of a different direction. Something that's very unique that the country of Panama offers is hawk migration.
Oh, nice.
All of the hawks that are going from North America to South America, from how I understood the explanation, they are relying on the thermals. And you don't get the benefit of having lift and being able to coast, glide when you go over ocean if you're a bird of prey. So they stay over land and they
Yeah.
follow the land from it kind of funnels into Mexico. And then as you're going through Central America, you turn the bend at Panama before you kind of fan out into Colombia. Panama is very, very thin and it's an east-west country. So all those birds of prey, all those raptors turn the corner in Central America and it's a bottleneck. When I was at Canopy Tower in 2024, they had 83,000 broad-winged hawks in one day.
It's a gnarly hawk migration.
It was, and this time in Darien, it was the same type of thing. You look up and you see a kettle, and you're counting the really good hawk watchers that are at the tower. I've been told count in clusters of 100. They can just eyeball it and know about what 100 looks like. For me, I can do it in clumps of 10. It was completely overwhelming. It looked like a swarm of wasps in the movies as they're coming at you. Um, that's with the naked eye. You put your binoculars up to it and you see that there's depth and there's layers that your eyes weren't picking up. And you can just keep going all the way up, all the way down from the horizon until you're basically vertical. And in that lens, you're seeing just specks the whole time. And if you start to pan left to right, it's the same thing. The sky is littered with hawks. If I try and name them all, I'm definitely going to miss several, but some of the main culprits were broad-winged hawk, um, Mississippi kite, And now I've already started to forgot all the
That
others.
was it. It was
There,
those two.
no, there were a lot. Definitely plenty of vultures, black vulture, turkey vulture, lesser yellow-headed turkey vulture. Um, that was one that I had no idea existed before I got to Panama. Um,
One thing for me, whenever we talk about stuff in South America or Central America, is that I haven't been there at all. So it's just like drinking out of a fire hose to even think about it. You look
yeah,
like it was
no,
like that for you too as well.
dude. Okay, so with Tiffany's help and Canopy Family, we had a minimum of three guides with us at all times. I think normally you get one or two when if you go and sign up for a private tour, but we were in a group of 10, we had three guides with us. And I heard that. I heard this. I see that. Oh, look over here. There's that. Oh, here's this other one that you've never heard of that has the exact same sounding name as some bird from an hour ago, but it's slightly different. The differences between ant wren, ant shrike, ant bird, um, and how all the names are very similar and they all just look like an LBB, a little brown bird. It it is a million times more difficult in Central and South America compared to what you see as a an early birder in the US. Say you're in the southern US and you're trying to figure out warblers and they're not in breeding plumage. It's very difficult. Or say you're trying to do sparrow ID or empid ID. Like this feels like child's play because the magnitude of species is just off the charts in Central and South America. I've
We look at
only
your
birded.
eBird checklist and it just says Harpy Eagle 2 and Keelbill Toucan. You're like, yeah, that was all I really, needed to know here.
This is why I do the audio recording. I force myself to learn it. By the end of it, I was doing a great job. I felt like I was identifying a ton of birds by ear, and I had the opportunity to really become a student and really learn because you're with bilingual guides who are just this is their way of making a living and they love it and they want to share all of what they know about nature, not just birds, with you. So I had my notes tab out. I was taking a lot of notes of different types of trees, what the food chain looks like from leafcutter ants and army ants all the way up to yeah, the harpy eagle. Um, it's fascinating what the ecosystem looks like and how these animals are all interconnected with one another. There's so much variety. It really has opened my eyes up to encourage me to get out there more. And that happened when I started birding in the US. We were texting. My spark bird was the red-winged blackbird. That started from a sixth grade science project where our teacher was a birder and had all of us draw a species out of a hat. We had to go out in the field. We had a month, make a report, give a presentation. Your report has to include you using the scientific method to make a hypothesis, try and test it, list out what your observations were. Here are a few guiding questions. So when I got up there and I started talking about why I thought red-winged blackbird was territorial, and the instructor said, yes, you're correct. I got so excited. I thought I want to know that much about all the birds. Little did I know, North America is like the tip of the iceberg. You have so much in Central America, so much in South America. When I read Ken Kaufman's book, Kinbird Highway, and he has a section in there about Ted Parker deciding to go into the tropics. I don't think I don't think that anyone, definitely not myself, reading that could really get my mind wrapped around just how much of a pull there is to keep going back to the tropics and birding. But from my own experience, absolutely.
So are you
It's
going back to Panama again?
I would love to. Um, I would absolutely love to. I need to go to the lodge. That would be the third property. So there's the tower, the lodge, and the camp, Club TLC. I would really like to get to join that club. I don't know when that'll be. The next opportunity I'd have is October 2026.
That doesn't sound like it's that far away.
It's not that far away. Uh, I'm trying to wrap up my PhD. I'm not sure what opportunities I'll have. for building my career out. And, it's only a week. Why not?
Why
Commit
not?
to a thing in October already. But we'll see. There's a very real chance I do it in October 2026. And if not, I'll be chomping at the bit to do it any year afterwards. It's any listener, if you don't go up to Wisconsin in the winter for snowy owl, or heck, do both. Go up to Wisconsin in winter for snowy owl. And then right before it starts to snow, I did this in reverse chronological order, but you can go to Panama in October during migration season, which is actually the slow season for tourists, so it's even less expensive. And then go up to Wisconsin and get with Derek and Ryan and go see some snowies and go get your northern, technically, I guess it's boreal specialty in Wisconsin.
Yeah, you can get your boreal stuff here. You
Yeah,
can go sax
yeah,
sim while you're at it too. You can
yeah,
I think
yeah,
I would do it, you go to Wisconsin first, get that stuff, deal with the cold, then go to the extreme heat in the tropics. I think that would be the
yeah.
most entertaining way to do that. I think otherwise you
Okay.
would feel like you were just freezing.
You know better than me. You would
But
know.
hey, man, whatever floats anyone's boat, just I want somebody to do both of those things back to back. I think that'd be great.
Yes. The questions that you've been asking me and just hearing myself talk, I'm reminded of how birding started from this one trail that my mom and I went to for that sixth grade science report, and how the radius has been expanding ever so slightly until all of a sudden now it's at like an exponential growth. But we went from one trail to now the town, the city, the county, the state, the region of the country, coast to coast in the country. Now I'm going to other continents. So it's wild. It's a big gift. Birding has done a whole lot of good for me. And not the least of which are all great connections within this community. And getting to meet you and your brother has been fantastic. Um, really have gotten to enjoy running into you guys and getting to join the podcast. So always happy to join. And um, I'm going to stop talking there and turn it back over to you. But yeah,
Well, it seems like you did a great job summing it up. We've been interested in going to Canopy Tower as well, down in Panama because we've made connections with those people through different birding festivals and fairs and things. So it's something that's on our radar to do at some point, and you're definitely selling it as a must-do experience. I've never been birding out of the country, so I think it would be absolutely nuts for me. Derek's gone to Costa Rica, he's gone to Jamaica, he's gone to Grenada, so he's got a little more experience. So I think it would be absolutely insane for me, and I don't know what I'd focus on, but I think that's a good place to wrap it up. And thanks so much for coming on, Will, and telling me all about it. It's definitely interesting to hear about. I'm sure I'll have more questions as time goes on. And thank you, everyone else out there, for watching and listening to this episode of the Badgerland Birding Podcast.